everybody. Welcome to Women in Retail Talks. I'm Melissa Campanelli, the co-founder of the Women in Retail Leadership Circle, and today I'm delighted to be speaking with Nina Barjestay, the Senior Vice President of Product Development at Dick's Sporting Goods. We're going to be talking about how Dick's forecasts new products based on consumer habits, some of the new storefronts Dick's has debuted, and how she champions women in the workplace, and of course more. So let's get started. Welcome, Nina.
Thank you, Melissa. Thanks for having me.
No, I'm excited to chat with you.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get started, I always like to just have the folks that we're talking to tell the audience a little bit about their professional background or their career trajectory and sort of what drew them to the company they're at now. So tell me a little bit about your background and what drew you to Dick's.
Okay, so my entire career I've been in retail. I actually straight out of school started at Target Corporation. I spent 20 years at Target, all within merchandising, and mostly within apparel and accessories. And then after 20 years at Target, I had an opportunity to be the chief merchant at Rue 21, which is a fast fashion retailer, and I was there for about a year and a half. And then I've been at Dick's Sporting Goods for a little over 3 years. And now I lead our product development and design sourcing team for all of our private brands.
Okay, great. So can you talk a little bit about how Dick's forecasts new products based on consumer habits? For example, I know you launched a men's athleisure brand this spring called Versed.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to talk about how you decided on that brand and how you kind of came up with it.
Sure. So, we started about over 3 years ago, looking at really across the board what we thought was some opportunity, for us. And we gathered a lot of information from a lot of different places, and that's generally how we do it. Where we understand, we get feedback from our athletes. So we talk about our consumer as our athlete. So we get feedback from our athlete that's currently coming in and potentially not finding exactly what they're wanting. We look at sort of the entire competitive landscape, what's happening there. We understand macro trends that are happening. We get insights in real time about things that we're working on. We'll ask certain groups of consumers for feedback, and we take all of that information and then we determine what the opportunities are for us, and then we prioritize those opportunities. So for us, with Versed specifically, that's exactly kind of the process we went through, and we said, okay, let's get feedback from our current athlete. Let's understand what's going on in the competitive landscape. There's this macro trend around what we call the casualization of apparel, both for men and women, but probably a little more drastic for men, where they went from a suit and tie at the workplace very quickly to khakis and a button-down shirt, to then maybe even denim and a polo. And what we've seen is that casualization has obviously in the last year has become even more accelerated with people working from home more. And so it was a really good opportunity actually pre the pandemic. But since the pandemic, like I said, it accelerated that opportunity. And so we looked at that macro trend of what was happening in men's apparel wear. And then we said, okay, what do we currently have in terms of offering, and do we have anything that's like that? And we didn't. And so we clearly went out and intentionally built this brand that was all about a really modern male who wanted very comfortable apparel that was versatile. And that's really what this brand Versed stands for. It's for the modern man. His life is very different than it used to be, where he is working from home. He might be working from home and try to fit in a workout in between meetings. He is commuting a lot, whether it's commuting to the office or he's on a plane a lot to go to different meetings. And again, really just understanding that athlete and what his daily needs are. And that's what we've built this entire line around. And so we've received really amazing feedback, and we think that this opportunity is really big for us. And also it's in our mind, it's kind of a white space that we definitely didn't have in our store, and it feels really nice and incremental.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. It's clear that you, are looking so closely at the consumer habits of your consumers and making products based on that. That's so
Mhm,
exciting.
mhm.
Are there any other sort of consumer behavior changes that you've seen since the pandemic? And so how that might be impacting other merchandise trends you're seeing or
Yep.
categories for Dick's?
Yes, there have been many. So, we also in vertical brands here at Dick's Sporting Goods, we've got a large fitness gear business. And so with the pandemic, everyone, I couldn't go to gyms. And so they were building gyms within their own home. And so we had the product for them. And, I think still, even, post pandemic or with our change of lifestyle, I think people, who are working from home will continue to want to have that product there so that if they have 15 minutes to do something, they can do it. And like I said, again, in between meetings, maybe during lunchtime. And so that has been really positive for us in a major change in consumer behavior, as well as people really wanting to get outside and be active outside, get out of their house in a very healthy manner, with fresh air. And so, we have kayaks, and that business has been really great and really understanding what other activities, they want to do outside. So, biking has increased significantly. We've seen a surge in new golfers, people that maybe, didn't have the time before or didn't have the desire to get out and try something new. They're trying new sports, like I said, like golf, other paddle sports. So we've seen, a lot of change in behavior of getting some of those like, newer athletes try new things. And then just, I think, having more time and, more free time to do some of those things that maybe in the past they hadn't been able to do.
Yeah, I, I I totally agree with that. It seems like there's a lot more sort of activity going on outside, and I think
Mhm.
that's going to stick around. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about was some of the new store formats at Dick's that I've been reading about.
Mhm.
Guess one is called Going Going Gone, and one is called the House of Sport. I'd love for you to walk the audience around these banners and why you launched them, and sort of what your role was there.
So yeah, we're really excited about some of the new formats, and we've been working on them for quite a while. So definitely pre-pandemic, but the we opened our first House of Sport in Rochester, New York in April. And we're opening another one in Knoxville coming up very, very quickly here. And really, we believe um, that retail is really about your experience, your holistic experience, whether that's you can go and try out new golf clubs, or you can try out various bats in team sports, or we've got this beautiful what we call House of Cleats, where it's this dedicated space for our cleat business. We've got a rock climbing wall to add to a fun sort of family experience. And it's been so fun to see the reaction of our athlete come into that store and just love the experience of, enjoying all these different aspects of the store. And then, we've got, our warehouse, and that's more of a test at this point. And, really understanding what that could look like, for, a way of clearing out inventory if we needed to. And then we have, other, new formats that we're working on as well. But my specific work on that has been pretty minimal. We've got an amazing store team and visual team that has really worked on all of those aspects of the new store. My team just makes sure that we have beautiful product that can help fill up the store, and we make sure that it gets there on time. So I haven't had a huge role in that at all, but it's been super fun to see it and watch our athlete experience it.
Yeah, they seem really, really, really interesting. Such a good idea. And so many companies are closing stores now, so it's nice to hear about one that's actually opening them. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. We are the Women in Retail Leadership Circle, so we're always interested in championing women in the workplace and helping women move up the leadership pipeline. I know you're very interested in that topic as well, and that you even wrote an op-ed about it in the Pittsburgh Business Times at one point. So I'd love for you to tell the audience a little bit about the op-ed, like why you wrote it, why it was so important, the topic was so important to you that you felt you wanted to write something about it.
Yeah, I mean, I am a true believer in, women supporting women in, for me personally, my career has always been so important because it's actually what gives me energy. And I have 3 children at home, and I've always said that the day that, I go to work and I'm drained of energy is the day that I know that I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm making the wrong choice. But when I go to work every day, I actually get energized and I'm better by the time that I get home. And so that's always been my philosophy. And I think that's helped in any success that I've had. And I think, at one point in my career, you've got moments in your career that you remember, what people say to you. And I had one aha moment when one of my leaders on my team, who was female, she said to me, like, she wasn't sure, how, what position she didn't really have like a clear goal of what she wanted to do someday. And for her, she said that watching me and seeing that I had 3 kids and that I was still able to, manage a big role and a large scope and a big team, she was like, it gave her encouragement that there wasn't like an end to her like opportunities. And that she could say, like, look, if she can do it, I think I can do it too. And I was like, wow, like that's the best thing that anyone could ever say to me. And I didn't even realize it until then that I could be that role model of you can actually do what you really want to do and still have a nice balance of, family and life. It is actually possible. And I've also said, Melissa, that like the day that I first, had my first child, it was the day that I decided that every day I was going to leave at least at 5 or 5:30 at the latest. And I actually got better at what I did because I made that decision. Because before having kids, I would leave at 7 or 8, or I'd work, crazy hours, but I wasn't very efficient and I wasn't good at prioritizing. And so it forced me, I think, to get better. So anyways, I am super passionate about, supporting other women, encouraging, them to do what's right for them. And that if they do choose to have a career, that they can do that. And you don't have to sacrifice everything else in order to do it.
That's so inspiring. And it must have been a great feeling to know that you were sort of being a role model and you didn't even realize it.
Right.
Um, I mean, obviously, Dick's must do something right in terms of encouraging women to move up the leadership pipeline, considering that your CEO is a woman.
Mhm.
Um, so, can you talk about some ways that maybe there's some ways in place that Dick's does works on this project, or maybe you personally? I don't know if you're involved in any groups or anything, or what, or maybe just how you coach your team.
Mhm.
Just love to get a perspective there.
Yeah, I mean, we have a ton of support internally across, the women that work here, and I think, ensuring that we all have mentors. Obviously, we have Lauren to look up to, and she has said many times when she was talking to Ed about taking over the role of CEO that his best advice that he gave her was don't change, just be yourself. And I love that because I've personally also found that in my career of anytime I backfilled somebody that everybody loved, I would take a moment and think, okay, what did they love about that person and how do I be like them? And that was always like a mistake. um, because you just have to be super authentic to yourself, and that is going to be what helps you be successful. And so when you look at Lauren, she is 100% authentic and herself. And that is also why she's been successful. And that authenticity is something that I think is really prevalent in our culture here at Dick's. And I think that's why when you are a woman, and if you have whatever your goals are, you can feel super just being who you are and being supported for who you are. And so that's the culture that's here that I 100% love.
Yeah, I mean, it starts at the top, right? I mean, that's where cultures are formed, and if you can see that somebody at the top is so authentic, it gives you the freedom, to be the same. So I love that.
Mhm.
So let me just jump ahead because we're running out of time a little. This has been such a great
Mhm.
conversation. Um, can you talk about within the past 12 months some like initiatives, projects, accomplishments that you're most proud of? We always like to ask the women on our podcast to do a little bragging since it's something that is not comfortable for most women. But is there anything that that you would like to share that you're proud of?
Well, I mean, definitely this launch of the Versed brand, I'm very, very proud of. And what I'm most proud of, honestly, Melissa, is my team. And through the few years that I've been here at Dick's Sporting Goods, just seeing my team grow and do things that they didn't even think that they could do. And so one of the things that I love most about my job is working with my team and developing my team and focusing on them. And so it's really the launch of Verse, but honestly, it's just that team that made it happen, and being there to support them and to support them, like I said, in doing something during a pandemic. Working from home, we're all trying to figure out our new life and what it means, and managing lots of different aspects of the business that we've never managed before, and at the same time working on this really critical launch, and doing it very, very well. So that's definitely probably the thing that I'm most proud of in the last 12 months, other than surviving the pandemic.
Right, of course. Um, and then sort of along the same lines, what are you most looking forward to sort of as we round out 2021 and thinking ahead to 2022 and beyond?
So, I think what I'm most looking forward to is taking the momentum that we have today, because our business right now is amazing. And actually, we just did a store walk. We were in Columbus, Ohio, and we were walking some of our stores, And we got super excited about the fact that our business, we would have never dreamed of having business this good. But then we're walking the store and we're making long lists of things that we can do better. And so that actually, and I made the comment when we were in the store, it's like that actually makes me sleep better at night, because I would worry if we walked the store and we were thinking, how are we ever going to comp this business? But we have a long list of ideas of how to make it even better. So I would say, working on that long list of how we get even better than our best ever is what gets me super excited about.
That's great. I love that answer, actually. So I think that's about all we have time for. So Nina, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Women in Retail Talks. I loved getting to know you a little bit better and knowing about Dick's a little bit more.
Great. Thank you so much. This was fun.
And I want to thank everyone out there for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at womeninretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. And please make sure to subscribe to our podcast channel page as well. Finally, if you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review it. Until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.